Some mothers actually do know and understand they've hurt their daughters really bad. They just don't have the emotional tools, the emotional maturity, the emotional humility, the capacity to even admit it out loud. Hey friend, welcome back to another episode of the Rise and Rebuild podcast. This is your host Lydia, and I am so glad you're able to join me today. If you're new here, welcome home. This is your safe space to break unhealthy cycles, heal that which still hurts, rebuild your life, and restore the identity God created you for, my friend. Welcome home, welcome home, welcome home. So today we are talking about one of the biggest mistakes many of us keep making when healing the mother wound. And before I go deeper into today's episode, if you haven't listened to the previous episodes on healing the mother wound, I want you to go and listen to that first so that you have context around what the mother wound is, what are we talking about here, how it forms, and what healing can actually look like for you. But as I was saying, one of the biggest mistakes many daughters make is constantly trying to get their mothers to admit they were wrong. Even when deep down, yes, they were. You're here trying to make your mother see things from your perspective, trying to make her see how much her words or actions have hurt you, trying to get her to finally apologize or finally see things from your lens. So today I came here to tell you, stop trying to make your mother admit she was wrong. And listen, maybe she was, maybe she's wrong. And maybe there are things your mother has said that has deeply wounded you. Maybe there are things she has normalized that have hurt you. Maybe there are ways she parented you or she continues to parent you that affects you deeply. Maybe there are things she never protected you from or she doesn't even protect you from right now. And maybe there are conversations that are never happening or never even happened or will never see the light of the day. And their apologies maybe you deserved, but you've not received. Today's conversation is not about pretending that all that didn't happen. What I want us to talk about today, rather, is the emotional prison many daughters continue to stay trapped in while waiting for their mother to finally validate their pain before they allow themselves to heal. Because some of you all are still emotionally waiting for your mother to finally say, honey, you were right. I hurt you. I was wrong. I should have done things better or differently. I failed you there. I see your pain now. And listen, I understand because there's a part of us, myself included, that feels like if my mother or if our mothers would finally admit it, then maybe we could finally move on. There's a part of us that still believes if only my mother would change, then things would finally feel normal. If only my mother would validate my pain, then maybe I would finally stop hurting. Because many daughters are not just grieving that pain, they're grieving invalidation. And I'm talking about the mother-daughter dynamics that are not healthy. If you've had a healthy mother, this conversation is not for you. Good for you. The feeling of she still doesn't see this, she still doesn't understand all this, she still acts like nothing happened, she still minimizes it, she still deflects it, she still gets very defensive, she turns it back on me. I know that hurts deeply, right? It does. Because for many daughters, acknowledgement feels like someone finally loving you. For your mother finally extending compassion to you. And perhaps there's a part of you that believes if your mother would finally acknowledge all the pain she has caused you, then maybe that would finally feel like love. Maybe then you would finally feel seen, feel heard, feel chosen, feel validated in your experiences. You feel like if she could just admit it for once, then maybe that would prove my pain mattered. But let me tell you something. Your pain was and is still very valid and continues to be real and true, even if your mother never validates it. And I think one of the hardest parts about healing that mother wound is realizing that some people, your mother included, are simply not emotionally equipped for accountability. And healing from the mother wound has very little to do with your mother. I know that's hard to hear, but the truth is, healing has everything to do with you and very little to do with your mother. Your healing is about you finally acknowledging your own pain, you finally grieving honestly, you finally setting boundaries with your mother, you finally choosing yourself, you finally breaking the cycle instead of staying emotionally trapped, waiting for your mother to change. And so today, through this episode, I just want you to know that healing your mother wound is about you taking back your autonomy. It's about no longer allowing your peace, your healing, your identity, or your emotional well being stay dependent on your mother's acknowledgement, apology, approval, or even awareness. It's about you, daughter, finally realizing you cannot keep abandoning yourself, waiting for your mother to become who you need. And honestly, healing begins when you stop waiting for her to do the work for you and you finally choose to start doing the work for yourself. Because some daughters have unknowingly placed their healing in their mother's hands. And meanwhile, your life stays emotionally paused. And even though that physical umbilical cord with your mother was cut years ago, emotionally you're still tied to her at the hip. Your peace depends on her response. Your healing depends on her acknowledging that. Your freedom depends on her changing. And the hard truth is, they simply cannot emotionally handle facing the impact they had on other people because it will force them to confront their own demons, their own guilt, their own shame, their own regret, their own unresolved wounds, or even their own failures. So you expecting your mother to fully admit she was wrong may become a problem, especially if she has not even done the work of healing herself. Because instead of confronting the pain honestly, she may start to minimize it, deflect, justify, spiritualize it, avoid, pretend. And at some point, you just have to stop trying to force your mother into awareness because that continues to hurt you even more. Healing sometimes means you accepting this painful truth that your mother may never fully become the emotional, aware version of herself you need her to be. And that should not pause your healing because your mother is not just stepping up to be emotionally aware of the pain she caused you. Accepting your mother may never fully become who you need her to be doesn't mean you're now in agreement with what she did. Accepting that she may never apologize or step up emotionally does not mean what happened was okay. Accepting that she may never fully understand your pain does not mean your pain was not real or true. Accepting reality as is not excusing her behavior. Because some daughters are exhausting themselves trying to force accountability from their mothers. And meanwhile, you are staying stuck. You're staying angry. You're still very resentful. You're still waiting. You're still emotionally attached to finally being validated by your mother. And listen, I understand the desire for acknowledgement deeply. As one whose language of love is words of affirmation and acknowledgement, there's something in us that wants our mothers to look us in the eyes and say, I see it now. I hurt you. I should not have done that. But sometimes, listen, sometimes closure does not come from your mother's acknowledgement. Sometimes closure comes from your own awareness, you grieving honestly, you accepting what happened, you owning your own healing. It does not mean you suppress your truth. It does not mean you never express your pain. But there's a difference between you expressing your truth and emotionally depending on your mother's response to move forward. And by the way, let me tell you, some mothers actually do know and understand they've hurt their daughters really bad. They just don't have the emotional tools, the emotional maturity, the emotional humility, the capacity to even admit it out loud. Some mothers continue to carry this silent guilt their whole lives. And sometimes that is why they avoid the conversations altogether, because facing your pain would require them to face themselves too, to face the choices they made in life, to face their failures, to face their regrets, to face the ways they may have hurt you, and also while trying to survive themselves. And for some people, that level of self-confrontation feels too painful. So instead, they avoid it. Not always because they don't care, but because emotionally they may not know how to carry the weight of what they would have to face. And I know that's painful to hear. That was very painful to me in my own healing journey as a daughter, because there was a part of me that still wanted that moment of acknowledgement, the conversation with my mom, the apology. But I realized very fast, healing sometimes means grieving the fact that I may never fully get that moment the way I hoped I would. And that's okay. Doesn't mean my mom is bad. No, she's just navigating her own journey. And so the question becomes, how do you heal if your mother never acknowledges your pain? First thing is, you heal by finally accepting that healing cannot stay dependent on your mother's awareness. You heal by acknowledging your own pain first instead of minimizing it. Acknowledge what your mother did was wrong or what she didn't do. Admit it was not about you. Admit to yourself you had nothing to do with the pain she passed down. You heal by grieving what you did not receive instead of pretending it didn't affect you. Grieve the mother you didn't have. You heal by allowing yourself to stop chasing that apology. You heal by setting boundaries where necessary. You also continue to heal by no longer abandoning yourself emotionally while waiting for your mother to change. You heal by letting go of the expectation that your mother will suddenly become who you need her to be. She may never. You heal by releasing her or releasing the fantasy version of who you think your mother should be mentally. And finally, centering yourself in the reality of who she is. Because at some point, healing becomes less about getting your mother to finally understand your pain and more about you finally understanding that you now have to find ways to heal, nurture, protect, and show up for yourself in the way you needed your mother to show up for you growing up. And honestly, a lot of healing is learning how to give yourself what you kept waiting to receive from her. Remothering yourself, reparenting yourself, the gentleness you needed, the validation you needed, the emotional safety you needed, the permission you needed to exist fully as yourself without guilt. That is healing. Not waiting forever for a moment that may never come. Reparent, remother yourself. Give yourself what your mother could not give you. And I know that's one of the hardest transitions for many daughters, realizing that at some point you have to stop waiting to be emotionally rescued by the very same person who wounded you. And for many daughters, this is where adulthood truly begins emotionally. The moment you realize you're no longer that 13-year-old girl that needed your mother's validation in order to feel worthy, seen, or enough. This is the moment you stop chasing permission to heal and finally give it to yourself. You hear me? The moment you stop waiting to be chosen by your mother and finally choose yourself. The moment you stop waiting for your mother to acknowledge or to become emotionally available and you begin building a life that is emotionally healthy for you anyway. Listen, I know this conversation is very hard for some of you, because healing the mother wound is very complex. It's not surface level work, because your mother was the first human being you ever got to meet. It forces you to confront the grief, the disappointment, the anger, the unmet needs, all of it. But I truly believe the moment you stop waiting for your healing to come through your mother, it is the moment you finally begin taking your power back. And maybe that's why I'm here today for you. I don't want you to become bitter. I don't want you to continue blaming your mother forever. I want you to finally free yourself emotionally enough so that you can start healing, growing, and rebuilding your life anyway, with or without your mother's approval. And I know this feels really unfair because there's a part of you that still wishes things could have been better or could have been different. A part of you that still wishes you received what you needed growing up. And I just want you to know, I see you deeply. I am you. Many women are you. But I also want you to know that your story does not have to end in pain, resentment, or emotional exhaustion. How long are you going to carry your mother? For how long are you going to hold unforgiveness for her? Healing is possible. Wholeness is possible. Freedom is possible. And if you're listening to this episode today and realizing that you really need to heal your mother wound and you need support, welcome to our community. I just don't want you to continue carrying the unforgiveness. Welcome to our healing membership, a safe space for women who are ready to break cycles, heal emotionally, rebuild their lives, and restore the identity God created them to walk in. If you are ready to let go of the pain your mother caused you, you have to make a deliberate choice that I am not going to carry this pain, because guess what? The pain travels. The pain travels until somebody in your family feels it and says, this ends with me. You don't want to pass the pain to your children. The cycle has to end with you, because guess what? For a long time, many daughters have not been given language for what they've been feeling with their mothers. Especially, as I said, if you were raised around a toxic mom or you had a very unhealthy relationship with your mother. But today I'm giving you language for that. I'm giving you permission. And I'm asking you, begging you, for the sake of your children, if you have children, if you want to be a mother in the future, if you have people you're nurturing, you cannot live a free life if you keep on holding bitterness, unforgiveness, anger towards your mother. You will pass it down. You will become your mother unknowingly, because what is not healed, it is passed down. It travels across generations until somebody in your generation says, this is it. How about that person becomes you? So today I'm giving you permission. Stop trying to make your mother admit she was wrong. Even if you know she was wrong, just quit it. Let it go. Let it go. All right, my friend? That's all I had for you today. I hope you continue healing. I hope you continue stepping into who God is calling you to be in this season. And I hope you see yourself the way God sees you. Talk to you in the next episode. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.